Hey everybody, this is Court Jones here, and welcome to the critique video for the lesson on drawing the spirit animal in caricature. Now, drawing the spirit animal in caricature, if you remember, is taking an object or an animal or just anything in the world that isn't a human and applying it to your caricature design to help you create a new type of exaggeration that you wouldn't have normally thought of on your own. It basically works by looking at your subject and trying to think about what it is they remind you of. Or you could find a picture of an animal or an object and you think, hey, that stapler looks like so-and-so. And it's just as simple as that. And then you draw the actual animal or the object first and evolve that or morph that into the drawing, and hopefully you'll create a type of exaggeration that's just wacky and out there. This is essentially an exercise to help with becoming a stronger exaggerator, because that is a roadblock a lot of people have. They don't know sometimes what to do with the face or how to exaggerate to create a funny look, and an outside influence can sometimes help. So this is just a free preview of what the premium students normally get, where I'll go over many artists' work and talk about the different problems they have. In this video, I'll just go over one of them and to give you a taste of what that's like. A lot of the problems I noticed, people had some things in common. Mostly two things. One, they would let the spirit animal influence be too strong in their design, and it would essentially hurt the likeness. It wouldn't really look like the person they were trying to draw. And in the other end of the spectrum, there were people who the spirit animal didn't seem to influence the drawing much at all, or I couldn't really tell where it was inserted. And consequently, the exaggerations weren't that funny or that outrageous, and you might as well have just drawn a straight up caricature. And I'll try to point out when those happen. Just on another technical detail, some people weren't posting photos of the reference that they were using, either of the spirit animal or of the subject. And I'll point out when that happened, but if you're going to post these images, make sure you post everything that's relevant to help us understand what you're doing and what your choices were. All right, so let's get started. All right, let's look at Mick Nelson's Ron Perlman caricature. And it looks like you found a dog that looks exactly like Ron Perlman. It might be from one of those online lists where they show celebrities that look like animals or vice versa. And that's fine. That is actually a great way to find some animal inspiration, because there are quite a few dogs and animals out there that look like people. But yeah, really looks like Ron Perlman, so that's great. You've got a head start there. So in the caricature, though, in the finished one here in the middle, I think the likeness isn't quite as strong as it could be. And it's just, I like the head shape that you've got going, but I think the way the features are drawn, perhaps the shape of the mouth, the shape of the eyes, I think are really off. Maybe they could be smaller and closer together. Thanks for including your process sketches. That's always good to see the steps you took to get there. But I think I'll go ahead and redo this drawing myself using the dog influence, trying to make the dog influence even a little stronger if I can, and see if I can improve the likeness of Mr. Perlman. Okay, so first let's draw this doggy, but in a really exaggerated way. Okay, there's my quick doggy, and let's dim that down and see what I can draw on top of that. Ron Perlman has this just amazing long philtrum, this area between his mouth and nose, and you did get that in your sketch too, and you got the eyebrows that are really close to the eyes. You got a lot of the things that are going on in his face. So the concept of the exaggeration you had, I think, is really good. It's just the execution wasn't quite pulled off successfully. And so that's kind of what I'm focusing on here, is just spending a little more time on the sketch to not really render it, but kind of just to visualize those concepts a little bit more accurately. You can even incorporate the dog's neck into the caricature as well, I think. It's not really, well, that's what I imagine the dog's neck would be, I guess, if he were sitting upright. He's actually standing up here in this picture. Anyway, thick neck. Ron Perlman's a big guy. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. More exaggerated than what you had, and a bit of a, more pronounced exaggeration, especially in the lower face, which I think was helped by exaggerating the dog a little bit. So this was an instance where I changed the original reference for the animal quite a bit to suit what I thought I was going to do with the caricature of the person. So I think that's fair game, as long as you're referring to the actual anatomy of the object or the animal that you're using as your first reference. I think you can have a bit of fun with it and tweak it a little bit to influence the design of the face more accurately. Now this is also drawing by Mick Nelson, and I wanted to show this for just a real quick note. One, great choice. This is probably one of the best choices of spirit animals I've seen to match up with an actual photo of a celebrity. I mean, you couldn't plan this any better for Miley Cyrus looking like a giraffe from this particular photo. It's like they were made for one another. So real good choice on that, good selection of spirit animal, and thanks for, again, including your process. It's always helpful to see the sketches along the way. But the main thing is you really could have abandoned the giraffe eyes, I think, on this one. They're really hurting the likeness. I think it's an extremely funny sketch, but doesn't quite look like Miley. I would draw her eyes smaller and real close together, more than any other people too. Like Ron Perlman in the previous sketch actually had pretty narrow eyes that were fairly close together. But Miley, she has really close together eyes, and that would really help the likeness. So something like, in this area. Also, the muzzle area for her face, you gave her sort of that animal projection of the muzzle and the snout where it sits on the giraffe, and that's not quite working for her. You're just changing her type too much. It's jumping off her face. It doesn't quite look like a young female human type. So I would work with that and maybe make it a little bit more human looking, like perhaps bring the jaw out a little bit, and then don't do these such pronounced laugh lines here. So I'd really need to redraw the face to really make my point really clear, but I just wanted to give a quick verbal on that to let me know my thoughts on working with this particular animal reference along with Miley. So if you want to try that again, watch those eyes and watch that mouth and muzzle area. So using an animal or object or anything really to help guide you or to help find new ways to exaggerate your subject can be a really fun exercise. It doesn't always work for everybody. I think it works out most for people who have a strong physical type that is different from the average, or a persona that is really unique that might be encapsulated well by an animal or an object or anything else you can think of. But it's just one of the many techniques you can use to help push your exaggerations further. The critique we just saw was just one of many I do for the premium students. If you're a premium member of the Caricature course, you get access to the longer video and lots of other great content, so I hope you all join up for that. In the meantime, keep drawing. There's going to be more critiques, more exercises coming. Thanks for watching, and good luck.